Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. So today we're going to talk about what is it that you need to feel safe. Now, this changes per the relationship, right? Because I was having this conversation, I had this conversation a while ago with somebody in regards to money, and they were like, well, there was a lot of anxiety around money. And I said, well, what do you need in your bank account, or what do you need to not feel stressed about money? And they said, well, $10,000 and no credit card debt. And I was like, okay, understandable, right? But how can we start to make you feel safe with money now? And it was more of the conversations that they were having regularly about money, because it wasn't necessarily that they needed that amount in the bank account or they needed all the credit card debt paid off, but they needed to feel safe around the money. And so it started with a change in the conversation. And it was, okay, does money come in regularly? Yes. Am I fed regularly? Yes. And so it was a matter of changing the conversation around money from what am I lacking to what do I actually have when it comes to money, right? Because there were a lot of things that money already provided for this person, but they were focused on all the things that they weren't able to do with the money. And so that got them caught in this loop of not being safe around money. And the same is true in other situations, right? And so I was actually journaling through this morning in regards to my social media accounts. I'm going to dive into that on another episode. But what was interesting was there was a lack of safety that kept getting brought up in regards to social media, right? Not feeling safe to be fully me, and what would happen if I fully showed up in the online space and all these kinds of things. And this idea of safety comes from our inner child, right? Our little 5, 6, 7-year-old whose parents were trying to protect that child, then started to put all these boxes and boundaries around the child in order to protect the child. But our little brains interpreted it as something very different, right? And so this idea of being able to feel safe when it comes to money, to feel safe about our food decisions, to feel comfortable and ourselves in those situations really changes the game. And I watched, there's somebody on Instagram that I watched, I forget his name right now, but he's a coach, and he shared a video of this toddler falling, but laughing hysterically. And his caption was the undeniable laughter of feeling safe, right? And it's this idea that it doesn't matter how you show up, how you screw up, or anything like that, you're still going to be loved. And that is something that we're deeply afraid of, being rejected if we are our full selves. And so it doesn't matter if it's with money. It doesn't matter if it's with friends or family or your spouse, whatever it is, there's on some level, if you've healed it, that's awesome. But on some level, there's this fear of being rejected, right? Not being loved, being too much for someone, kind of a thing, right? And it spirals into all these other things. And so it's a matter of, right? Here's where the real transition is, right? It's not a matter of having something in order to be safe, right? When I was having that conversation with this person in regards to money, it wasn't about having enough money in the bank account. It was about trusting themselves to be okay, even if there was no money in the bank account. And that's different. And that's typically not something that we're taught in school. It's definitely something that gets taught to you if you're in this personal development, self-help type of world, right? That does show up. But it's not something where we're like, hey, do you know that you're okay no matter what happens, right? And it's the confidence in yourself, it's the trust in yourself, it's the faith of God, divine source, whichever word you want to use, that it will all be okay in the end. And that is where true safety actually lies. It lies in trusting that everything is actually working out for you, even if it feels like there's a massive shitstorm coming through, right? Like, I am glistening right now a whole lot. It is very, very hot here in Virginia Beach today. It is supposed to be an ungodly temperature, like 98 without the heat index, and so it's going to feel like 107 today. But there is a window right here in my office that I have actually put a blanket over because the sun was beating in my office, so much so that my office is actually quite warm, and I'm glistening a little bit. I say glistening because I don't want to admit to the fact that I do sweat a little, right? But glistening a little bit. So you're going to see me shift here, right? But nevertheless, right, that could add to this idea of, oh, I'm not safe, or, you know, the world is out to get me kind of a thing, right? When you can shift from a victim to a victor mentality, everything changes, because it changes how you look at the world. I was actually thinking about this yesterday when my daughters, I picked a whole bunch of vegetables from the garden. If you saw my Instagram post yesterday, we had 13 cucumbers, 14 yellow squash, couple zucchini, something like that, right? A very large amount of produce came from my garden yesterday. And immediately my children saw an opportunity to make money. And I thought it was so interesting, because there are people who will see that and instead they'll see lack. They'll see this plethora of veggies, right? And I can say that I was this at one point, right? I remember picking all these fruit and veggies one year. This was years and years and years ago. And I was very much stuck in this lack mentality. And I remember picking all of these veggies, and my first thought was, I should give some to the neighbors. I have a bunch, I should give some to the neighbors. And then my second thought was, what if there isn't enough for me? And then I spiraled. And I remember this moment, right? And I was focusing on the lack as opposed to the plenty, right? I have so many veggies right now, and I know that my plants are going to continue to grow. And maybe the squash bugs take over my squash again this year. Maybe they don't. Maybe my chickens did enough crap in the garden, literally, to be able to upset the squash bugs this year. I have no idea, right? All I know is right now I have a lot, and I'm willing to give that to others. And my girls saw this opportunity, and they set a little veggie market. They were selling vegetables to the neighbors. I think all in all, they made about $35 or something, right? Just by selling these veggies. But I thought, what a great experience for them to experience the abundance that is actually all around us, as opposed to the lack. Because again, they could have gone to this and said, well, I'm lacking in something. And that is where safety is a lack thing, right? It's a lack of safety. But when you are surrounded by the abundance, when you can actually sit and see all of the things that you can be grateful for, it's very difficult to notice the things that you lack. And this is a practice that I started years and years and years ago. And I know, like, the second I fall off of it, not the second, but if I fall off of it for too long, I will start to spiral back into a lack. I will notice all the things that I don't have instead of all of the things that I do have. And so every morning, I will write down at least 3 different things that I am grateful for that day. And this morning, I was grateful for the irrigation system, being able to water my garden. I was grateful for a cool house this morning, even though I'm sweating in my office right now. I did say it, I admitted to it, right? What was the other thing I was grateful for? I can't remember off the top of my head. I forget. Nevertheless, at least 3 things every morning. And that's a great headspace to be in, because when you can see all of the things that you have, you actually lack nothing, right? And it's in that space that you're actually open to receive more, as opposed to feeling like you're not safe. And so, what does it take for you to be safe? I'll come back to that very first question, right? Ask yourself that. Journal through it. It's going to be different for you than it is for me, right? For me to feel safe right now in this moment, I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. And I feel safe because I know no matter what happens, everything will work out in my favor. But there was a time when I didn't believe that. And I said that, and there was no little niggle. I'm being 1,000% honest with you. There was no little niggle where I was like, you know what? I need to look at that. Like, I can honestly say that I am okay. And I am safe to show up in this space. Now my inner child is like, well, you're saying it again. So are you, right? And this is where you have to have that dialogue with yourself. You have to journal through it and say, okay, if I'm not feeling safe right now, what is it that I actually need? Have the conversation with yourself. The better that you know yourself, I can't even say the words. I don't even know how to express it, but the life that you want is going to come through knowing yourself deeply and being honest with yourself. Because if you're out there trying to be somebody else, you're going to continuously fall short. And that is why I end this episode every single time with be you, because the world needs more of you. I have that saying right there on the wall. I also have a saying right next to it that says, be yourself, everybody else is taken. Right? And this falls in line with, this is where we're going, I guess. One of my girlfriends sent me this Instagram reel this morning, and it was from a therapist. And she said, I'm going to tell you like the 4 things about why your friends are friends with you. And number 1 was like, they actually like you. Like, they really like you. They like love you. I don't remember all 4 of them, but one of them was like, they really love your weirdness and your quirkiness, right? Like the stuff that you're like, oh my God, I would never do that in front of other people, right? Like they love that about you because your weirdness gives them permission to also be weird, right? And then another one, again, I won't remember them all, is like they want to know what's happening in your life. They want the details. They want to go deep with you, right? And those kinds of friends are there because you're being yourself around them, right? Maybe they don't know all of the lies that you've ever told yourself, right? Because we are the only people who know all the lies that we tell ourselves. But I'm sure they've seen you screw up and they still love you, right? And so it's interesting, and it's bringing me back. We're going to go down another rabbit trail here. Like, I remember hearing this about my children, right? When I was doing the afternoon pickup, like my kids would be awful the second that they got in the car. Like emotionally vomit all over me, like yell at me, scream at me, throw things at me, like all of the things, right? And for a while I was taking it very personal. Like, what was I doing wrong for my children to be so nasty to me when they got in the car? And it had nothing to do with me. Because I had heard, I don't even remember where I heard it from. I had heard somebody say, you are your child's safe place. And so when they spend the day behaving, acting correctly at school, now they're little people, emotional little things, right? But they want to be good at school because you get rewarded for being the good kid at school, right? Like, we know this. And so they have to hold it all together at school, that the second they get home and they see mom or dad, they get to sigh relief and they get to release all of those emotions. Unfortunately, you're kind of the target. Not because you deserve it, right? But because you're their safe place. and they know that you're going to love them no matter what. And so they unleash on you, emotionally vomit all over the place, right? And you have to take it as a parent, right? You pick yourself up and you go, okay, that wasn't actually directed at me. I'm not taking that personal. And so I want you to think for a moment, who is your safe person? And what if you showed up that way everywhere? And you didn't have to be these different people in all those places. What would happen then? Food for thought. All right. Well, I'm sending you so much love. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you.